You know, this whole thing that we've got going on in America right now is really interesting. Because there's a lot of these thoughts that are sort of new thoughts. They're things that have just been, well, sort of come up here in the last several decades. And doesn't mean they weren't around a long time ago. Some of them might have been, some maybe not. Some might be feelings, some may be historical fact. I'm going to tell you a fact that modern day experiences with slavery that I had. I used to have to travel because of my job internationally. And while in Asia, I had the experience of slavery up close and in person. How does that happen? Well, better close this window. That might be a little noisy. That might be a little bit better. But I can't tell you how many times I was approached in Asia and asked if I wanted to buy people. And that seemed rather odd to me. And it probably seems odd to you. But the reality is, it's not so odd in some parts of the world. I was there when they were playing a thing called the Southeast Asian Games. And you might think of the Southeast Asian Games sort of like the way we think about the Pan American Games here. So they were sub-Olympic regional contests in a variety of sports that attracted countries from that quadrant of the earth. And I was staying in this place called the Merlin Hotel in Kuala Lumpur. And the Merlin is a storied hotel, rich, old British history, and was in this really cool lobby. And this was before cell phones. You know, so this just didn't happen yesterday. This was 30 years ago now. And so no cell phones, but they had this big bank of telephones where you could call to different continents. And it was sort of cool. Big old bank of phones, you know, and above the phones were clocks so you would know what time it was in that time zone where you were calling. So I figured it was time to call home, and I'm sitting there calling, and there's a guy next to me talking on the phone. And you know, in those days when you got an operator trying to make connections and everything, there's a lot of dead space when you're initiating the call, and I couldn't help but be attracted to his phone call because of the nature of what he was saying. He was speaking to some folks I don't know where, but what he did, he purchased 18 people for $600 each. And I thought that was odd. And so, you know, I got my connection and talked to my family back in the States. And then was sort of taken by that phone call. You know, I approached him and we had a conversation. Just two guys. Matter of fact. Very businesslike. And what I came to learn was that he was a local Malaysian businessman. And yeah, he bought those 18 folks, and they were coming from Indonesia. I wish I could remember the town that he told me they were coming from. I don't have good enough recollection to remember the town, but I do remember the way he described the town, and then what I learned about the town once I got back to America. Poverty-stricken place. 100,000 people basically living in shacks and cardboard boxes, and the buffet was down at the trash dump. These were really poverty-stricken people. And they were going to go to work for this guy. And yes, as a matter of fact, they were going to be prostituted during the Southeast Asian Games. And then they were going to go to work for him in factories. And he described in great detail the way he took care of people, and told me all about the dormitories they had, the meal program, health, and that was going to be their life. He owned them. They didn't work for him. He owned them. So, two things. For those of you that think slavery is just sex trafficking, it is not. It is that. But it is labor of every sort as well. And for those of you that think slavery originated in America, it did not. Slavery has been on this earth for as long as there's been dirt. I'm not saying it's right. It's certainly very wrong. But I think we have lost sight of where we put slavery within the context of history. And what I want to do in this next video is talk a little bit about that. I want to talk about what's known as a pluralistic society. You know, what is that society where you have different segments of people coming together for whatever reason and cohabitating, making a community, making a country, making a nation? What does pluralism mean? And then I want to look at, is this slavery experience that we've experienced in America a long time ago, you know, is it uniquely European? Is it unique to Western civilization? Or do we really see that other places too? I think we do. So, I'm going to put a hard stop on this intro, so I'm going to the beach. I'll be back at you.
You build the house and I the home, Lord, Lord. Or should I stay here on my own? You build the house and I the home, Lord, Lord. But can I stand up